Whatever you want.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Big Red Masterclass on robotics today. So excited to have you guys. Good to see some familiar sort of names, faces as well. Hey, Urjit, how are you doing? Good to see you. Hi, Atharv. I would request you guys, if you can, to please switch on your cameras just for like 5 minutes so that you guys can all introduce yourselves and we can get some healthy conversations going before Vaibhav starts with his masterclass on robotics. So
hello, sir.
Hi guys. Awesome. So I'll wait for a few more minutes. I'll give you a few more minutes to turn on your cameras. But until then, let me ask a few people, Urjit, Nehal, whoever sort of is switching on their cameras, would love to hear from you guys as to why you're here. Maybe I can pick out a few names and sort of just get to know you. I would love to know why you're here. What are you planning to learn from today's webinar? Why are you interested in robotics really? And after that, we can begin with our masterclass. So let me pick out someone. Hi, Urjit. Let's start with you. Urjit, why don't you tell us which school you're in, which city, and what are you planning to take away from this webinar today?
Right. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all, and greetings of the day to all of us present, everybody present here. So I'm Urjit. I'm actually a student at Shivnada School, Noida, and I'm also currently pursuing a research on robotics. So that is exactly the reason why I'm here. So this can actually get me some good insights into the field, and looking forward to a very engaging session.
Awesome. Could you sort of talk, Urjit, as to what research are you doing right now?
So I'm currently researching on soft robotics. It's a very new and an upcoming field of robotics that deals with robots that can actually bend. So I'm looking more into the fabrication and the control side of it.
Very interesting. Thank you, Urjit, and always nice to see you. So welcome, and hopefully a lot to learn today from Vaibhav out there. Okay, we'll take a couple more. Let's go to maybe whoever's cameras are switched on. I'm trying to take their names, but hopefully a lot more of you will switch on your cameras and we can have a conversation. But let's go to Atharv, maybe. Atharv, if you can tell us what are you looking forward from today's session, and if you could just introduce yourself as to which school and city you're from.
Hello, sir. I am Athar from Shivnada School, Gurgaon.
Okay.
So I am very much into robotics and all of this stuff. So when I got this mail from one of our teachers, so I kind of wanted to join, so I did join.
Okay, and anything in particular in robotics that have you been studying it or doing something with it?
Yes, sir. In our school, we are learning robotics. Example, we have robotics classes, and we are actually studying Lego robotics. Those ones, the mechanical ones, and Mindstorm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Athar. Okay, let me see. Let me pick out, hopefully, maybe one of the girls now. Let's go to maybe, I can't see you guys, but maybe Vanya. You can go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and what are you planning to take away from today's session?
Good evening, sir. Sir, actually, I am Krishe. I'm
Okay.
the name of my sister.
Okay.
Sir, I am from Shirnadar School, Gurgaon.
Okay.
And sir, I am not too much into robotics, sir, but I just was keen to know about it.
Okay. Thank you for the candid answer. Let me take a few more names, maybe. What about Nehal?
Hello, I'm Nehal. Uh, I'm actually a 11th grade commerce student and I'm not really aware of robotics in general, but I'm here to explore and learn new things.
Awesome. And which school are you from, Neha?
CHM College.
Okay, awesome. Okay, at this point of time, what I'll do is if there are any sort of questions or anything else that you sort of want to sort of tell us as to something that you are planning to, like, are just expecting from today's webinar, this would be a great time, so that, of course, you know, there are a few topics that, of course, Vaibhav has come prepared with, and some of the things that we will walk you through. But it will be great if there are maybe one or two things, Urjit, the Tharg, or any one of you who want to sort of say that, you know, that would be something cool that I want to understand or learn about. And hopefully Vaibhav can touch on those topics as well. So anything that you guys feel that we should be talking about today? Not really? Yes.
Something more delving deep into how robotics can actually catalyze social impact. Things like assistive technology. If you could cover a brief part about that, that would be great too.
Sounds good. That's a great question, Urjit, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because we are today going to talk about, you know, the name of the masterclass today is how are robots changing the world, right? So we are going to look at sort of real impact as to, you know, how robotics in general is creating real impact in the world. We have a guest speaker as well with us, Abhinav, who's going to come in a little later and talk about his company and what he's doing through Orangewood Labs, and what amazing work they're doing, cutting edge work really in the field of robotics. So on that note, I would love to introduce Vaibhav Chhabra, the founder of Makers Asylum, also, you know, one of the geniuses I hear, you know, from so many people. So would love to hear your thoughts, Vaibhav. Looking for today's masterclass, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Rishi. Very nice to be here, and so nice to meet you all. I'm really excited to learn from all of you as to what more and what are the more awesome things that you guys are doing, because I think, well, I can share about some things about the robotics world, but I think what you guys are going to come up with is super exciting for us to see what other things that we're not thinking already that are possible. What I'll do is I'll quickly share my screen, give you a little background about myself and Makers Asylum, and then what I'm going to do is I will introduce Abhinav Das, who is here with us to talk about his organization, which is doing some really exciting work in the area of robotics. And then after that, we can have a more casual discussion on robotics as such. So sharing my screen. There we go. All right. I hope you guys can see that.
Excuse me, sir, can you please spotlight yourself?
We have spotlighted him, Tharg. I don't know if you're able to do that. Yeah. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. So giving you a quick background, Makers Asylum is a playground of its own sort for different folks like yourself, artists, engineers, designers, people from all different backgrounds to come together and build stuff. And that's how really Makers Asylum started, in a small little space in Mumbai to create a space for people to build things. That's our space now. We're in Goa and we're inside this really heritage home, but inside, if you go, there are a lot of different tools. However, when we started, what happened is, because we have these labs inside our space, from 3D printers to laser cutters to carpentry to electronics, a lot of people started coming to us to also learn, and that's when a lot of our programs began. And this is one of the exciting programs that you guys might be a part of, which is the robotics program that's going to happen over the summer. Slowly, these programs started to become bigger, and now there are alumni from our program in 30 countries. So that's just a little background about Makers Asylum. So it's sort of like an alternative education space where people come to learn about how to build things with their own hands and try out different things with technology. A lot of different startups have come out of our space too, including Quidditch that works in drones. Now, I think all of you guys know a little bit about drones already. Now, these guys are shooting all the IPL matches. Some of you might be cricket fans. How many cricket fans out there? Raise your hands.
Me.
Watching the IPL match. There you go. So some of the drone footage that you see is actually from Quidditch, one of the startups that was born at the Asylum long time back. Another one that was born out of the Asylum through the programs was called FICES. They do agri-tech, so they build agricultural robots of their own. Now drones are also a form of robot, but in the agri-tech field or in the agriculture field, these guys are doing some really, really cutting edge work now. Prosthetics. Now, one of you talked about how you can make robots that also integrate with human bodies. So there are a bunch of guys over here still working on prosthetics and building robotic arms that sort of are able to sync up with your body. And then most importantly, today's guest speaker of the day is going to be Orangewood Labs. Orangewood Labs started off with a very, very simple thought of making customizable furniture. However, from there, they went to Y Combinator in the United States and did a lot of exciting work. And now they're building these 6-axis robotic arms that can do a lot of things. And Abhinav, who's joining us from Hawaii in the middle of the night, will be talking a little bit more about it. I'm going to try and catch a hold of him in a few minutes. However, all of this Makers Asylum started in 2013 when I was working on a different device called iNidra, and the ceiling of our office broke and fell down and broke pretty much everything inside our little lab that we had in Mumbai. And that's when a bunch of people got together, guys like you and me, to build simple things like furniture. And that's how Makers Asylum was born in 2013 through a little activity just like this. And then eventually we set up our own little garage. This was our first garage or our first makerspace that was based in Bandra in Mumbai. And then since then, we've moved many times to finally get to this beautiful home that you see at the bottom in Goa. Now we do a lot of things digitally, online and offline, and that's how we're here today to work on this program as well. Yeah. Over the years, Makers Asylum is also known as this sort of hub or asylum for creativity and innovation. And the community has been learning and sharing together over the years. At the physical space, we have everything from a woodworking workshop, metal shop, a digital fabrication lab with like laser cutters and CNC machines. There are 3D printers, over 15 of them at the space right now as we speak. There are electronics labs. There is a virtual reality lab, and pretty much anything and everything to get your hands dirty and make your ideas happen. That's what Makers Asylum is all about. Today, we're going to be talking about building robots that matter and how do we really create some exciting robots. So let me ask you this question now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen over here and we'll get back to this later. What kinds of robots do you think there are actually out there? Anyone wants to raise their hand?
And guys, feel free to sort of unmute yourself and speak as well. Yeah.
It would be awesome to turn on your camera, sorry, so I can see you guys and see you guys actually raising up your hands as well.
Athar.
Yeah.
Go on, Athar.
Sir, I actually kind of know Tesla. So Tesla is all about robotics cars, and their machines are also based on all robots. I have seen a few on my system. So yeah.
Nice. Anyone else? So what kind of robots is a Tesla, for example, a car? So what would that be?
I think it's it's a car robot that basically works whenever you want your phone is connected to it. So like wherever you are, you can it can self-drive it to that position, and you can sit in it so that you don't get wet, kind of.
We have
It's
a
a
couple of
man.
more hands.
It's a self-controlled car.
Okay, great. Arif, do you want to go ahead?
Sir, it's a AI robot. AI is basically like robots with artificial intelligence. Like all these Tesla and all these robots, they all have AI, artificial intelligence.
Fair. What about you? Somebody else, Praneeth, you had your hand raised. You want to say something?
So I was about to say the same point. Tesla is mostly a software company instead of a car company
Okay.
because
So tell me more
developing
about that.
self-driving software.
So what about the software makes it so special?
So is developing artificial intelligence to be able to autonomously drive on roads. So that's the main part of Tesla.
Nice. All right. So these guys are actually called autonomous mobile robots. What you're talking about, Tesla, that's one kind of robot. There are many, many different kinds. But we're going to talk about 4 to 5 of them in this masterclass or in this session. Okay, now before I get into this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Abhinav. Abhinav, are you there? Are you able to hear me? Abhinav Das, are you there?
Yeah, just give me a minute. Yeah.
Awesome. So while Abhinav is joining, let me introduce you guys to Abhinav Das. So Abhinav Das is the co-founder of Orangewood Labs. Orangewood Labs makes, like I was talking about, 6-axis robots. They're based in, well, India and the United States. They're doing some really, really cutting edge work in that space. So I wanted to actually pin him over here and get him to speak a little bit about robots. What's happening in this space, Abhinav? Do you want to tell us a little bit?
Can you hear us, Abhinav?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pandemic feels very good. Yeah, I can. Yes. Hello. Hello. Now I can't.
Well, we can hear you. There is some lag, Abhinav. Maybe try to switch off your camera and hopefully that'll work better for us.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. So, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's going to be sad that we won't get to see your Hawaiian shirt, but you can still go ahead and tell us a little bit about what's happening in this world of robotics right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like as I was saying, pandemic kind of showed us that human labor itself is not scalable. What that means is that most of the young people, we don't want to work in factories. It does not make that much sense for young people to be working in factories and doing things which are very repetitive or boring or dangerous. And that's where robots come in. And especially during pandemic, when you did not have enough workers who were able to come to factories and work, and that's kind of how it sort of started. But now most industries, they are much more interested in having robots in their factories or in their restaurants or I mean we are seeing like very crazy kind of applications which we never really thought about. So yeah, I mean this is a really good time to be in robotics. Yeah, Vaibhav, I think you are mute.
No, I was saying, tell us some of those crazy applications. I would love to hear more. Where are
Yeah, absolutely.
what's being applied?
Yes. So would it make sense to just show like a video for the context?
Yes, please do.
Maybe if if you let me share my screen.
Yeah, Abhinav, you can do that now. Yeah.
Okay, just give me a minute.
And Abhinav, please do also talk about your robot. What are you doing over there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I wanted to show.
So So guys, Abhinav is building big robots, and you guys are going to get to see it right here.
Yep. So this is like a video of some of our robots working in factories and in our lab. And this is something which we have built in Noida. This is probably the first robotic, the first collaborative robotic arm built in India. And what it does is it has like a programmable 6-axis. That means it's like a human arm, but something which can be programmed. So that lets us do repetitive things, which things which are not where humans are no longer interested in doing, and that's what we are able to do. So let me just. So I hope you were able to see that, and
yeah, that was really cool. So you said one very interesting word over there. You said collaborative robot. Can you explain that a little bit further as to like what do you mean by collaborative robot?
Yeah. So what happens is specifically robotic arms, they started back in the 80s, and mostly most of the customers were the automotive companies which use robotic arms for welding. You might have seen the Tesla factory, where there are like these large red robots moving around, and you wouldn't really see any human on those lines because robots are like, let me just, just to make it a point, let me just start my camera again. So if I just instruct it to just do this thing again and again, it's like, if I'm closing my eyes and then I'm just doing this again and again for maybe 1,000 or 10,000 times. So what happens is like these things are really large and they can basically kill humans if they are on the line. It's very, very dangerous. And that's why most of the industrial robotic arms, they are supposed to be inside cages where humans are not allowed. Now with collaborative robots, you can actually have humans working around them and they're completely safe to work around. They have either sensors or they have ways to just stop if any human comes in their way. So this kind of robotic arms, they were developed in the early 2000s, and now this is like the fastest emerging category. One of the best things about them is the fact that it's very easy to program as well. So anyone can be taught how to program this within like maybe even few minutes, and then that person can basically program it to do new things. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's very cool to hear because that entire space of collaborative robots is now just picking up, right? Which is having humans and robots working together in the factories. And I think that's definitely going to be very, very revolutionary in the way that things work in the future.
Yep.
And
so we are pretty excited about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us more, like what are the other trends that are you seeing in the robotic space right now?
So mobile robots is another field which we are seeing so much of traction, so much of demand there. It's relatively easier if you compare it to like the indoor robotic, indoor mobile robotic robots, which can basically move inside a factory, do material handling or similar things. They are very much in demand, and they are like much easier to build also compared to, let's say, a self-driving car or a robotic arm. So I think that's where you're gonna see like so many companies, like Amazon uses millions of these robots in their in their warehouses. So your next order, even if it's from either Flipkart or Amazon, it might have had a robot touching it in part of its process. So starting with that, the self-driving space, that has seen so much of investment, and now it's kind of it has hit that tipping point. Uh, I think 2 weeks back, I saw the first self-driving car on a public road in San Francisco. It did not have anyone, I mean, I was just coming back from office, and I just saw like one passing in front of me. It was by this company called Cruise. They've just like they were given permission to, by the city of San Francisco to start start trials on public roads. So that itself is like very, very exciting. I mean, it's almost magical, right? Like a car without having any occupants who are, running on a public road.
Have you
So
sat in one of those? Have you ever sat in a Tesla that's driving by itself yet?
not yet, but yeah, Tesla is pretty freaky. I mean, I was renting out a Tesla just a few days back, and it just like corrects you on its own. It gets pretty freaky.
Nice. Good to hear.
Yeah.
That. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit about Orangewood Labs. How did that come about? Like a little bit more about like how did you guys figure out that robotic arms were the way to go?
It's one of those things, that the way we started thinking about it was to solve our own problem. We were running a furniture business back in 2018, and painting itself was a very difficult thing. And most of the time, we were based out of Noida, which is like a very industrial city, where we thought we would find enough people who could paint furniture. But then nobody wanted to do it. We didn't have enough good people who could come and paint furniture, and that's when we sort of started like working towards building a robot which can start painting furniture, and that's how it kind of started. But one of the problems which we were able to solve was to make a robotic arm which is more affordable to small businesses. uh, it's like one of those. So if you look at like most of the technologies which have changed the world in a way, like including 3D printers or cars or computers, uh, they reached a tipping point when they suddenly became very affordable. So the first cars were very, very expensive, and then Henry Ford came along and said, I'm gonna build a car just for and sell it for $400, which is what like a worker in Ford factory makes in 3 months. And that kind of revolutionized the whole automotive industry. Uh, if you look at 3D printers, earlier were like super expensive, and now you could just assemble something from open source and out of parts which are commonly available. Uh, we wanted to do something similar for the robotic arms because this is how we are able to scale human labor, and I think this was like this big idea which we wanted to pursue. There are obviously a lot of technical details, but I wouldn't want to go in right now. Yeah, but then happy to like obviously everyone is invited to come to our Noida facility where we have these robots, and you can come and play with them as well.
We're waiting to get one over here as well at the Asylum, which
yeah, absolutely, very soon. Very soon, yeah.
Yes, awesome. So real quick, so any words? I know it's really late for you over there, so I don't want to keep you around for too long, but any words of inspiration for these guys who are like young innovators who are planning to think about the robotic space seriously going forward? Anything that you would like to tell them in terms of what they should look at, or what spaces, or what to get excited by?
I think being curious is one of those things, right? Robotics is one of those fields where you cannot put it in one box. I mean, is it like computer science? Is it mechanical engineering? Is this electrical and electronics engineering? It's all of these things, right? Like you cannot like be constrained to one box because your uncle said, "Beta, do CS, you'll get a job in Infosys or whatever." I'm sorry, I mean, no, with respect, but my point is, robotics is one of those fields which is basically it's like all these three fields coming together and building, what the future needs to be. And for that, you cannot be keeping yourself in like one box. So what I'll say is like build whatever you want to build. Just go ahead. Don't stop yourself saying that, bro, this is like mechanical engineering. I don't want to do this. I want to stick to CA, so I just want to like stick to electronics. Just build whatever comes, build whatever inspiration. Build whatever you have, whatever idea you have. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And in terms of like the sustainability and the sort of that space, have you seen some exciting stuff yet?
Yeah, there is this company called Saildrone, and they are right now very active in the San Francisco Bay Area, and basically these are sailboats. Yeah, these are sailboats which are robotic, and that is helping from basically just to test out like what are the pollution levels in water, what is the weather situation, what is the plastic pollution levels, how's the aquatic life coping up with increased level of pollution. So many things it's able to help out, and it's a robotics company.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's amazing. I mean, what people are able to do with with just having like a piece of new hardware out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abhinav. I'm not going to take more of your time. It was super awesome to have you. I'll let you go to bed now. And
Yeah, thanks, man.
We'll call you back again for the next round later when the program begins, and some of these guys can also interact with you perhaps later.
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Take care of yourself.
Yep. Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, guys. Now back to all of you. I can see you all. So if you want to turn on your cameras, we're going to have a little bit of interactive session again. What do you guys think about that? Was that exciting? Was that interesting to meet a robotics engineer who's manufacturing robots?
Yes, sir.
So what did you guys think? Anything that you guys picked up that you didn't know about?
Sir, I kind of picked up things about robotics arms because that's what it is. And they also told before, like, there were not safe, these robotics arms were not safe, but nowadays you can build them and they're so safe that and so easy to program.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyone else wants to say what they got out of this? Any other thoughts or comments or any questions? Okay, so in that case, let me show you a few different types of robots. Okay, so some of you guys told me all the types of robots, these autonomous ones like the Tesla car. There is also the Irobot. Anyone knows about the Irobot Roomba? Raise your hands. Or yeah, very cool. What about the Irobot Roomba? Do you guys know?
Sir, so I want to tell again. Sir, so iRobots are basically there are two of these I have heard about.
Yeah.
So one of them can connect to your phone, and so it is basically a cleaning robot. It cleans your house, whatever you want, and it actually, like, whenever, if it sees you, whenever like you are in front of the robot, it'll kind of stop. It won't keep cleaning because it knows that if it bumps into you, it'll quite break itself.
Yeah.
So, and yes, sir.
Very good. Very nice. Yes, it is a self-cleaning robot, sort of like a Tesla as well, right? One of you were talking about it. It drives around wherever it wants inside your entire house, maps out your entire house, and then goes around cleaning it. Similarly,
Yes, sir.
there are these robots inside factories as well. And all of these kinds of robots are called autonomous mobile robots. All right, let's go and look at a few others. Let's see. This is how they work usually. Let's, I'm just going to skip forward, but
And even I know that some of these robots are also used by Amazon.
yeah, these are like the modern day factories right now that are using these autonomous robots and moving things around inside factories these days. And literally a little one of these robots comes, takes it to their place. No human needs to actually go and touch things. It just keeps moving inside in these factories. All right, let's go to the next one. Do you guys know about humanoid robots now? Anyone heard about humanoid robots?
The humanoid robots are like purposely designed to look like humans and act like humans using artificial intelligence.
Very good. That's very nice, Praneeth. Do you know, have you seen Sophie before? Do you know what Sophie?
Yes, sir. So Sophie, it was a humanoid robot created by some lab, I think. I don't exactly remember.
Yeah, Sophie was one of the first humanoid robots that was created. Actually, there were many others that were created before Sophie as well. But what was exciting about Sophie was just the way she was able to answer and talk in a much more witty fashion and really.
Sir, I think Sophie was also the first robot citizen, human robot.
Yes, correct. She was the first robot citizen as well. And you can see a little bit of Sophie in action over here, where she's actually having conversations at events and talking about different things that she cares about or she likes. However, they're limited to the answers in the way that they're programmed earlier on, and they're speaking them out as well. Yeah, in this case. Similarly, have you heard about this one? This is the new one these days, Amika. Anyone heard about Amika? Anyone over here heard about Amika?
No, sir, I think.
Okay, you guys will love this. Amika is a new age robotics humanoid robot that actually mimics all sorts of facial expressions as well. Can you see her expressions? She's able to create pretty much anything from a smile to all sorts of expressions. It's a lot of like designed by folks in the art field and engineers, of course, working together. So there was a beautiful collaboration over there to create a robot that's able to not just sort of speak and look like humans, but also express like humans. Yeah, and of course, there is this thought of Irobot, the movie, where it's inspired from. Okay, going forward, anyone heard about Boston Dynamics?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I know this one.
Yes, sir. So they make these kind of robots. The one shown.
Sir, I remember the dog one, but and I also remember this one. It's kind of a human armor that actually is like has a human structure, and it can do. You have like some controls on your feet and hands, and you can tell it whatever to do.
Exactly. Very good. Anyone else? Somebody else wanted to share something? Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So these kind of robots are called dynamic, highly mobile robots. They're very, very complex to build. But yes, like you said, they can do a lot of different functions. They can't just move, but they can also carry like complex tasks. Let's look at one of them in action. Any of you seen this video?
Yeah. Sir, I saw the same video. Like it.
Yeah. So this guy dances as well. It can do like a lot of things. I don't know if you guys can hear the music.
Sir, we can.
Okay, nice. So that's the Boston Dynamics robot dancing. That's a lot of degrees of freedom. Very, very complex.
And sir, that one is the one that is like the style of the dog.
Yep. Yeah. So these guys have like supreme amount of motion. They're able to like move, communicate, have like different senses around their body that they're able to accept things from the environment and then react to them in different ways. Pretty much right now, the cutting edge of robotics is happening over here, which is the dynamic ones. Then the next round of robots that we talked about were cobots, which is what Abhinav is building, which we talked about. These guys are cooperative robots, so they're able to cooperate with human beings and at the same time create stuff, but at the same time be in the environment where humans and robots can coexist. Very, very, very exciting space right now. Something that we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to be around us pretty much everywhere. Soon at Maker's Asylum, hopefully we will have one of the robots serving coffee. Then of course we have hybrid robots. And actually we did have a robot serving coffee even earlier. But anyways, that's a story for a different time. But check these out. There's another breed of robots called the hybrid robots, where you have the autonomous robots at the bottom, and then you have a cobot on the top. So you have two different kinds of robots together, merged together, and these are called hybrids. And finally, we get to the articulated robots. This is the most exciting one for us because this is what we'll be building in our course coming this summer. Check this out. That's the KUKA arm. Anyone seen this one? Anyone know about the KUKA arm?
No, sir.
Okay, in this case, he's playing table tennis, but the KUKA arm can do pretty much anything and everything. You can ask him to build a house and it can do that, because at the end of the day, it is a robotic arm that can print like a 3D printer. And by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, I was printing something over here and I printed this thing for you guys. A little stretchlet straight out of the 3D printer, just made in the past 5 minutes. Again, a 3D printer is a form of a robot. And similarly, a KUKA arm over here that you can see is also a form of a robot that allows you to move in multiple different 6-axis dimensions and do pretty much anything from playing table tennis to building houses to welding in a factory or doing painting a wall, whatever you wanted to do, whatever you can program and whatever you can imagine with it. Another form of a KUKA robot or another form of a robotic arm is these. These are cooking robots.
Yes, sir.
At home. And very soon, hopefully, we'll get to see some of them in action. And maybe something that you guys can build over your workshop as well this summer. This is something that we built at Maker's Asylum just some time back ago. It made jalebis for us. Very, very fancy looking ones. All right. With that, I'm going to come to MIAM. Anyone heard of the MIAM project? All right, great. So this summer, what Rishi is also going to talk about a little bit, we're having a workshop or program on robotics, on building robots that matter. And the way it's going to work is that all of us are going to build our own robotic arm. similar to Orangewood Labs, similar to the KUKA robot, a small version of it called the MIAM. It's an open source educational robotic arm that each of you will get to build using an Arduino. Anyone knows what an Arduino is?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It is
sir,
basically a microcontroller.
sir, it's a type of ARM chip. It uses pins and microcontrollers. Sir, actually, I've worked with Arduino before this.
Nice, so perfect. So if you've worked with Arduinos before, then this is going to be super fun because what you'll be doing is building a robot using an Arduino. And once you build a robot using Arduino, then you will have like a bunch of sensors with you in the course where you will come up with a problem statement and a solution. What do you really want this robot to do? So imagine if you wanted to clean your garden, or imagine if you wanted to create something to help clean the water or whatever it may be. You can use these robots to do that and use the sensors to be able to program it, to be able to get that input from the environment and react to it accordingly. Yeah. That was Orangewood Labs once again. That's their robot on the left. It's a big one now. And I think that's all the slides from my side. So I can stop sharing and I can just come back to all of you and ask you guys, do you guys have any further questions for me or for Rishi?
I had a small question, Vaibhav. I did see the costing for one of the kitchen robots that was there, right? I think it was like around $250,000 for the arm. So my question is, like, in terms of accessibility, right? Like, I'm not sure about with Orangewood Labs or anything, but what do you see like as with the future? And do you think these robotics arm or robots just being used by bigger sort of industries, or can we see sort of regular people like us, like in households using robots and building robots, or affording one to do our day-to-day chores or anything really?
I see it very, very soon. So one of the best things that I like about Orangewood Labs is they literally revolutionized the robotic space by changing one very simple thing. They don't sell robots, they hire robots. So they just made the little change over there of thought process that you don't need to buy a robot when you can employ a robot. So what they do is, as a company, all that I need to do is pay somewhere around 15,000 rupees a month instead of buying the robot, where I get a robotic employee to join my company. And now it is on a salary of 15,000 rupees a month, which is pretty much a salary of an employee at the factory. And what they provide me is with a robot and with the service to be able to make it do that one task again and again and again. So what do you think about that model, Rishi?
Sounds interesting. I mean, and I'm guessing that, with this model, right now, I think there are only 3 or 4 aspects that like Orangewood is solving, but there's so much more that I'm sure, again, whatever, you can imagine, I guess you can start doing that, right? With the kind of 6-axis robots that they have.
Correct. So just like that, one more part of the program or the course that we're going to be doing in the summer is going to talk about these things. That how do you make these robots more accessible? Because yes, one part of it is building a robot, but getting the robot out into the hands of people and making it more accessible is another very, very important part of the journey. And that is something that is super exciting to learn about, and also super important to know about before you actually start your journey into this robotic space. Understanding some of these ground realities. Yeah. Any other questions from anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Atharva.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So how do you plan on making the robots cheaper?
So one, of course, the hardware is getting cheaper and cheaper every day. And then the factory model of the Industrial Revolution, which I'm not a big fan of, allows us to reduce costs the more consumers there are to be able to buy them, right? So the same thing what happened with Ford, what Abhinav was talking about, it really revolutionized the car industry, because back in the day, there were only 2-3 cars that people owned, in the sense like only a few people were able to own a car. But today, everyone owns a car. I mean, owning a car is nothing special, right? Similarly, robots as well, as we go ahead, will become cheaper and cheaper based on their use cases increasing. And that's why it's very important for you guys in your generation to start thinking about what all we can do, what all creative things we can do on different ways that we can apply the robotic knowledge that we all have. Does that make sense, Ataru?
I think that was Ayush asked that question in the middle. Atar, do you have a question as well?
It was me. Yeah, so I had a question. When we will be coding the robots, do you have any suggestion for a language for coding the robots, like C++ or Python?
So in our case, we'll be using Python mostly. Personally like it. It's the language that works really well with Arduinos as well. I mean, it's integrated with the Arduino code, and then you're able to sort of very easily go back and forth. It's similar to it.
I've learned some Python.
So,
Yep.
so when we use the Arduino IDE at home,
Yeah.
so the Arduino IDE is based in C++,
Yes, it is.
the Arduino language.
Right. And Python is also very similar to that, isn't it?
So slightly, so mostly without the punctuations and stuff.
Fair. Which one do you prefer?
So honestly, I prefer C++ because the code is more logically structured and easier to read.
Nice. So there are different ones, and everyone has their own preferences in terms of which one do you want to use, but that's always an open thing. We'll be working with Arduinos in the program, and at the same time, possibly going into a little bit of Python, but perhaps just sticking to the Arduino IDE as part of the course. Awesome. Somebody else has also had their hand raised.
So I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So as you are saying that you create robots with the help of Python and create programs. So Python is not compatible with mobile phones. So what is the solution for it?
Why do you say that Python is not compatible with a mobile phone?
So it is not. It is compatible with Mac, iOS, and Windows, but it is not compatible with the Android versions of the phone.
So it is compatible, I think.
Yes, that's what I believe. It is compatible.
Like yes, so we can use different compilers in different languages. We could use a program that would convert the Python into JavaScript, and that is easily compatible with phones.
That's the other thing. It's easy to switch back and forth as well. Once you get a hang of a few of these languages, then you can easily switch into 1 and 2, where exactly what Praneeth is talking about. Does that answer your question, Ujjwal?
Yes, sir.
How many of you guys are already using code or learning about code?
Sir, can you repeat your question?
How many of you guys are actually working, are comfortable with using C++? Let's just be.
Yes, sir. Sir, me.
Nice. Anyone else?
We've got Ayush and Pranit so far.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Nice. What else? Any other questions for me? And Naren, who's going to be joining us, is going to be the master of teaching you guys and working with you on the coding part. He's really, really good. And he'll be working with you on the code front of it.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So will the Arduino workshops and everything be physical or online?
So the way it's going to work is we're going to be sending you all the stuff at home so you can work from that.
Yes, sir.
So it's going to be digital, but at the same time, most of the course is actually building the stuff and thinking about it. The
Yes.
first part of the course is going to be about building the robot. The second part of the course is going to be about thinking about what we can do with the robot. So we're going to come up with a problem statement. You're going to be in a team with a few other folks, and we're going to look at solving a problem using these robots. And then you'll have a bunch of access to different sensors at home, along with mentors who can help you to be able to build that wherever you guys are.
Yes, sir.
I think right now, Vaibhav, would be a great time. I know we've been talking about the program, in bits and pieces. But once again, I think this is a program to everyone, who's just joining us, or, if you guys don't know about it, it's a program called Build Robots That Matter. It's happening in the second week of July. You already have some details on the chat, but I would love for Vaibhav to quickly tell you a bit more about how the 10 days are going to go through. Of course, you've heard from him that you are, of course, going to start with, okay, perfect, we've got the schedule. Of course, we start with the robotic arm and then move on to a problem statement. But at this point in time, it'd be great if we could sort of do a day-wise schedule and really tell you what can you expect with, of course, the maker's kit that you will be receiving at home.
Awesome. Yes. So I can take you through this real quick. So that's the agenda of the program. This is how it's going to run. We're going to start with a little bit of pre-programmed stuff over a short call. And then after that, on the first day of the program, what's going to happen is that there's going to be another little chat. We're going to talk about setting up some context, what's really going to happen in the program, what are the kind of things we'll be building, what is the stuff that we'll be working on. And we will also be working in teams. So there's going to be about 2 to 3 of you working together in a team in the entire course. Post that, day 2 onwards, what's going to happen is for the next 3 days, day 2, day 3, day 4. So pretty much 3 days, we're going to be working on building these robotic arms. So you will have the kit at home and you will have online sessions with us, where you will be assigned different mentors. And what we'll be doing is we'll be constructing these kits. So one part is going to be assembly, second part is going to be learning about Arduinos, coding it, and making your kits work. So that's the first part, so that everyone is on the same page when it comes to building their robotic arms. Then going forward, day 5, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into a design thinking exercise. Anyone knows about design thinking over here? Raise your hands.
The 3D modeling.
Design.
So I had done a course on design thinking in which we had developed a way to reduce the DAC costs to make it more efficient and easier to access.
Okay, yeah, very good. So design thinking is sort of a formula, whatever you want to call it, started by very logical bunch of steps, honestly, to be able to solve a problem. So the way it works is we really go into empathizing what the different problems that are there, or the person that we're talking about, the person in question has, going into defining our problem statement, ideating, and then solving that problem, and then testing it. So these are the basic steps of design thinking, but the way it works is that it's a very iterative process. And what we're going to do is, in the first part of design thinking, we're going to frame a problem statement. So we're going to think about what our robotic arm, the robotic arm that you built, the robotic arm in your team, what do you guys want that robotic arm to do? So for example, you wanted to do something around painting, or solving something around finding what is happening in the ocean, for example, or a problem that's more dear to you. For example, somebody that I know worked on a dog poop problem, which is like, there is so much dog poop, can we collect it using a robotic arm? Because nobody wants to touch it. So this is the time when you guys are going to frame your own problem statement in your teams, that what is the different problem statements that you guys are excited about to work on using the robotic arm. Then after that, we're going to go into something called interaction design. We're going to learn about how do you make these robots interact with humans and different things around them. Post that, we're going to work on user testing. So we're going to basically start trying out these robots. We're going to come up with a solution. We're going to go into solution brainstorming. We're going to prototype them. And then we're actually going to be able to test them as well, hopefully in this entire session. You will have access to various mentors like Abhinav Das, who is here today, who is joining us from San Francisco, and various other mentors who will come in during this time in the program to be able to help you guys to build those robotic arms specific to what you want to do. Again, there will be certain bits of limitation because we will be prototyping this. So it's going to be the first version of these arms. But again, the imagination is completely open and up to you as to what you want these robotic arms to do. You will have various sensors like ultrasonic sensors, heart rate monitoring sensors, and various other things that you will have access to that you can use to make that happen. And then after that, what you guys will do on day 9 is practice your pitches, or what do you actually build? Why did you build this robot? How does this robot actually matter? And what's your story about your robot? And then finally on day 10, we're going to have a little pitch session where we'll be able to present and get some advice from some advisors as to how do we take our robotic arms further. Fair? Does that make sense? Does that sound exciting? First of all, let's get some feedback. Does that sound like an exciting course to you?
Yes, sir.
How many people find that exciting? Raise your hand.
That is pretty action-packed course, I would say.
Yeah, it's going to be 10 days, but 10 days of madness. It's going to be super fun because you'll be working with a lot of makers from different parts and getting their insights as to how do you actually build these things and then design them for your personal needs.
And something that is very exciting, guys, as well, that I would love to highlight is that, of course, once you do the program, you'll also be part of the makers community later on as well, right? So hopefully meeting with people who are just like yourself, working with them even after the program ends, and sort of bouncing off your ideas and sort of just getting to know each other. So you'll feel and be part of that community, which will help you even after the course sort of ends. So it's not just for 10 days that you come in and sort of meet everyone, but being part of a larger community even after when the program ends. So I think that's a big advantage for anyone who sort of joins in for this program as well.
Atharva, you have a question? We share the same last name.
Nope, sir. Actually, I just forgot to lower behind.
Okay, no problem.
Awesome.
Anyone else has any questions about the program or otherwise?
I would love to ask one last question, I guess. Out of all the robots, Vaibhav, that you sort of talked about today, what is the most exciting one for you in the coming years? So you can give us the perspective both from your own personal perspective, and at the same time, what do you think in the world, like what's happening, what kind of robot is really getting you excited, and in general, like what the world is sort of working on?
I personally really find the cobots, which Abhinav Das is working on, super duper exciting, because I think that's one thing that's going to be touching our lives very, very soon. And it's already happening. It's going to be all around us in the next couple of years. And what I do also find exciting about them is that you can literally, the same robot that you guys are also making, the Miam, it has the same principles of it. You can program these things to pretty much do like so many tasks, like anything from drawing something for you, doing your homework for you, or whatever you want. I mean, the limitation is all up to your imagination. What do you want these guys to do for you? And that's what I really like about them. And the fact that they're so close to us right now is what I'm really looking forward to.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, on that note, I think that brings us to an end of a great webinar. Thank you, Vaibhav, to learn. I mean, personally, I'm a layman when it comes to robotics in general. So there was a lot I think I took away from today's session. Hopefully, the students found it the same way. As I've already shared with you guys, if you have any other questions, maybe on, we would be sharing the recording of the session as well. So you can sort of have a look at it once again. If there are any more questions on the program or anything else, just feel free to email us as always, and we'll get back to you. Other than that, we've already shared the information on chat about the upcoming robotics program. And of course, we will be sending you an email about it as well. So on that note, if there are no final questions for Vaibhav, Vaibhav, over to you for some final last comments from your side.
No, thank you so much. It's been super exciting and so nice to meet you guys. So excited to see that you're already doing such amazing work. Really excited to work with all of you and learn and share it together.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Have a great week ahead. And we'll all see you super soon. Okay. See you guys. Bye.
Sir?
Yes.
I wanted to say actually I'm not in grade 8. I am 11 years old and I'm only in grade 6, but still I kind of learn very much.
That's fine. That's fine. There's no age to really learn a curve. So I'm glad you were still, able to come in, take part. Maybe I would say you'll be too young to join, the robotics program with us. But hopefully, keep coming in for these masterclasses that we hold and keep learning with us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.